What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Optimal EV. Today I'm going to be giving you a general overview of the Lucid Air. This will be Lucid Motors' first electric vehicle in the market, and they're starting with their limited Dream Edition.
As I'm sure you know, but in case you don't, Lucid Motors is an all-new electric automotive company based out of the United States, and in this video we're going to be going over the 4 trims that they have available so far.
Okay, so before we compare the 4 trims, I just wanted to go over a few things about Lucid Motors and give you a little more information. So basically, it is a publicly traded stock under LCID, and their CEO is Peter Rawlinson. Now, the reason Peter Rawlinson is important is because he actually came from Tesla and was one of the head engineers of the Model S. Now, him and Elon Musk have went back and forth on Twitter. You can see that Elon has not spoken very highly of him, and I think that is just because of the new competition with Lucid.
Something else we really want to talk about here is the website functionality that we kind of experienced when trying to do this video. Even on a really high-end computer, this website just really doesn't function super well when you're trying to go through the actual 3D model rendering that they show on the website. We tried building things out and changing around certain features, but either the website would just stop responding or the model would just not let you spin or see any of the changes you tried to make. So that was kind of interesting.
It just froze.
Yeah. The other thing that we wanted to talk about was the transparency that we kind of found to be really weird on this website. A lot of the additional options or details about these cars is kind of hard to find and piece together. We were able to go onto their website here and have to open up the compare tool in the top right. And from there, it'll actually show us a ton of different specs for the cars. But without this tool, we weren't able to find them anywhere else. And there's a few conclusions we had to come to on our own.
Yeah, and even with clicking that compare tool, we did have to go into each individual build just to see how the options worked with each trim.
Right.
With that being said, we're going to go over the 4 trims. So basically, we start with the Air Dream Edition, and this is actually the only model that will be delivered this week and by the end of October. The Air Grand Touring should be the one following that, just based on seeing the EPA ranges being shown already. So we have $169,000 starting on the Air Dream Edition, and the reservations are closed, so you can no longer get that model.
Standard on the Air Dream Edition is the all-wheel drive dual-motor system offering a whopping 1,111 horsepower and an estimated EPA range of 520 miles. Now, despite the crappy website performance, I think this is really going to be an impressive car. I don't think it compares to anything we've reviewed or will review in the future as far as we can tell. It's a pretty impressive car.
Those are some insane numbers, 1,100 horsepower, 520 miles of range. I couldn't believe it when I first saw it, and it's definitely the highest EPA-tested range of any electric car in the whole market. Now, with the Dream Edition, there is one unique thing about it. If you actually check out the colors, unlike the rest of the models, which all have the same 5 colors, you will get this cool Eureka Gold. So gold, I mean, I'm not a huge fan. I don't know. What about you?
No, I don't really like it. I usually like the dark grays, the more neutral colors. It's fairly neutral, but I don't know. It just doesn't really give it that luxurious style that I think it should.
I agree. And with the Air Dream Edition already being sold out, we are going to go over the Grand Touring because it does give you a better idea of what options will be available on the Lucid Air. And these options might become available on the Air Pure and the Air Touring.
So even if you are a big fan of gold, unfortunately, a lot of these features are just limited edition specs. So that's why we really want to focus on the other 3 models.
So we hop into the design of the Grand Touring, and as you can see, it comes with a standard all-wheel drive system delivering 800 horsepower and a EPA-tested range of 516 miles. Now, as you can see, the 516 miles, like we said, about a little misleading, and having to kind of look into Lucid to find out more information. When you click the eye, you're going to see that the range is also depending on the wheel size. So if you get the 19-inch wheels, you're getting that 516. But if you're getting the 21-inch wheels, which they do show when you first click it, you're actually only getting 469 miles. So around a 46-mile difference on the range is it's big. I mean, when it comes to electric cars, 46 miles is a ton.
Yeah, I mean, obviously at 500 miles, maybe you don't notice 40 miles so much, but for any other car, 40 miles is a pretty decent chunk to just not really mention.
Yeah, and I think that one thing that me and Sam have always been about when it comes to any of the builds we do, we always usually take the road of more range. Yeah. Maybe because it doesn't have as much range as this car, like the ID4 or the Mach-E, we decide to have more range. But I think even on this one, I would still decide to go with the 19-inch wheels. If you do scroll down to take a look at them before we go over the colors, they don't look bad. I mean, they definitely don't look as good as the 21s or the 20s, but I would definitely take them once it loads over the other models.
Yeah. Here's more of that website functionality we were talking about. Not a huge deal, but you get an idea.
We're going to scroll back up to the colors now and just go over the 5 paints that, not counting that gold one from the Dream Edition, so you won't be able to get that on the other 3 models. We have our Stellar White, then we have Infinite Black. I think the black actually looks really good on the Lucid. Like we've said in other videos, we've definitely talked about how blacks don't always look great on cars because it hides a lot of the trim.
Right.
But on the Lucid, you see there's a lot of chrome and a lot of aluminum look. And normally I hate that look, but I think it actually looks sporty and unique.
Yeah, I agree with you a lot here. I really think it makes the trims pop. Not too much, but enough to really just notice them subtly, as well as white. I'm honestly a big fan of white on this car. And most cars, it's kind of just a black kind of color, very neutral, not super special. But this and like Tesla's white, I really am a big fan of.
Yeah, I think it's something with the styling in the front, that big like silver bar with the Lucid and how it curves down really gives it a unique styling. And one thing with electric cars, usually they have those big bumpers that are just flat with paint and they get super dirty. As you can see here, there is still a panel that is flat paint, but there's definitely less because you have this nice black grille area with where the safety features are going to be,
right,
and the elongated front where the headlights are. We're going to scroll down and we have our next color, which is Cosmos Silver, which me and Sam have never really been a huge fan of silver. So as it loads, you can see it now. Again, nothing doesn't do much for me, right?
Yeah, pretty average.
Yeah, and then Quantum Gray. We're a sucker for grays. It looks good, but honestly, I think I'd take the black or white.
Yeah, honestly, me too. It's not quite gunmetal gray, which is where I really like to see it.
Yeah, or like a Nardo Gray, which we've always talked about.
Right.
Next is my favorite color, which is the Zenith Red. I know that we talked about other reds like bright reds before. This is a perfect dark red for me. It has that ruby look. It's very similar. BMW has another color like Amatrin, which is very similar. Super, super cool color, especially in the sun.
Not my favorite, but I respect it.
And then we have a platinum roof, which is standard on the Grand Touring, and we'll go over the other models, how they compare with the roofs and the glass. And then also we have our glass canopy, again, included, which you cannot take off on this model.
Right. These are all standard features, which you'll notice once we get back to the compare chart are not standard on the other lower features.
Yeah, and we would kind of show you the top look in the 3D motion, but it does just take forever to load, so we're just going to avoid it for now. But it does have a really cool over-the-top view, and it seems that it's definitely going to be nice, sitting in the back seats to be able to look up and, see the sky. Next, we have the wheels, which we've talked about before, the 21-inch Aero Blade, the 20-inch Aero Light, and the 19-inch range wheels, which, again, we would prefer.
Yeah, it's going to change your range for all those miles that you can get. Obviously, the smaller the wheel, the more miles you're going to get. So it's weird that they wouldn't really include this or, mention that type of information, but that's what we're here for.
Now that I'm selecting the 20-inch Aero Light, those are really cool. Even though their performance tires get less range, those look amazing with that color.
They do look pretty sharp.
Yeah, you're going to see the interior color. This is the first one, the Santa Cruz, which it does have a different front to back color, which I don't know how you feel about that.
Honestly, I'm not a big fan. I like two-tone seating arrangements, but honestly, it'd be much better if all of the seats were the same. I think if you mix up the front and the back, it just kind of looks inconsistent. So what about you?
I agree. I like when two-tone has like the side bolsters one color and then like the middle seat and the headrest like a different color, something that kind of is just mixed up on the seat. As we scroll down, you're going to see the Tahoe, which I think even though it's two different colors front to back, now that looks good.
The color is good.
Yeah.
If they did this a little bit differently, I think this would be hands down the best option you could pick. Just plain, pure, and simple, the colors are really nice.
Yeah, I think it just doesn't look as weird just because you're not going from just so dark to so light. It kind of mixes it up a little bit. But still, I would prefer to see them kind of mixed and matched with the black and the almost saddle look. As we go down, you're going to see Mojave, like the Mojave Desert. Doesn't look like a desert, but we have a Napa full grain and premium natural grain leather in black and graphite. So again, I really don't understand why you wouldn't just go black on black. I just don't see the point. I think there's too much thought into switching them than to just go with the standard black. Next, we have our Lucid user experience with navigation. So this comes with the Apple CarPlay Android Auto standard, and it is wireless.
I love wireless. I like being able to get in my car and it just automatically connects and my music just starts playing. I really think that this part here is going to be a huge make or break for this car. I think that if they don't get this user interface correct, that people aren't going to want to use this. And I think you actually reached out to someone at Lucid to get more information about this.
Yeah, so I reached out to one of the studio associates, and they were mentioning that actually the models that they had, the pre-production vehicles in their showroom that they were showing customers when coming in to put orders on, that was a pre-version of the user interface. So there's no production model of this interface out yet, so no one has got their hands on it to play with it, and except for the employees, I'm guessing, and not even the studio sales associates, just I'm sure the higher ups and the people designing this tech.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a little bit of a gamble.
Yeah, it's a big risk. I don't know if Lucid is able to take one, being that this is a brand new car, but they have the money to do it, I guess, if the car is this expensive. So.
Oh yeah. And then one of my favorite things about this car is that they're giving you 3 years of Electrify America charging. Now, we reviewed the i4, and that $100 credit really does kill it compared to this.
Yeah, it's kind of a joke. I think this 3-year charging credit is kind of a standard at this point. I think a lot of companies are going to start picking that up and offering it on their fully electric cars. And, if they're not, then I think they're just going to fall behind.
I agree. I mean, when it comes to charging stations and actually charging outside the home, because you're still paying for the charging if you're charging at your house. So I feel like majority of people are buying charging stations for their house and not using the charging stations outside as much. So I really don't think they're losing a ton of money by giving people the opportunity to charge for free at Electrify America or any other charging station. But that's just my opinion. I think, charging stations are more for emergency charging and people, if they're charging at work, stuff like that. All right, so now we're going to scroll down to Surreal Sound System. You get premium immersive 21 speakers in this car. That is crazy.
Yeah, pretty nuts. I think your standard car comes with, 2 speakers in the front, 2 speakers in the back, and then maybe 2 tweeters and a sub. So we're talking maybe 7, if not pushing it, 8 speakers. 21 is just insane. It's probably going to sound like a movie theater in there.
Last thing we have is going to be the Dream Drive Pro. Now, it does get a little confusing because they do have a regular Dream Drive and then the Pro Edition.
Yeah, we had to reread this a few times just to get an idea of exactly what was going on. But this is pretty comparative to Tesla's auto drive system. So they have the Autopilot, which is comparative to Dream Drive, which is just assistive driving. It's not fully autonomous. You can upgrade to the Dream Drive Pro, which is fully autonomous driving, totally hands-off, which is pretty impressive. I'm not quite sure if they're going to be able to pull it off the way Tesla is. What do you think?
So one thing to notice is that you actually get the hardware for the Dream Drive Pro in it if you do upgrade. So if you don't get the Pro Edition, you won't even have the hardware to install it in the future. So like Tesla has, you can actually pay for it and then it will get installed into your car for the full autonomous driving. I think from the initial video that they released, I was actually not impressed at all just because the information that they put out was very similar to a lot of other car brands. Ford has very similar systems, GM, the BMW, they all have things that can do that. And I think it all depends on what happens when they come out with their full autonomous driving, because that's going to be showing us if their technology is really up there with Tesla.
Right. And I think this is going to link into the UI that we mentioned before. If they don't really pull off that software right, this could be a real big fail.
Here we are back on the comparison page, and just briefly, we have the 3 production models that will be coming out in the future, starting at $77,400 on the Air Pure, $95,000 on the Air Touring, and $139,000 on the Air Grand Touring. Now, one thing to notice that these options on all of these might be subject to change because the car is not officially out yet, and things like that Dream Drive Pro, that could be $10,000 like Tesla. You never know.
Yeah, we have no idea what any of the pricing is on these options. Nothing is available so far on this website, so maybe that'll change and make something more worth it than it is now, but as of right now, we can only give you what we have so far.
Yeah, and it does look like that the next vehicle coming out in production is going to be the Air Grand Touring because it has an EPA range already. If you look at the Touring and the Pure, they both say projected range, and once the car is EPA, that's when it gets closer to production. With the Grand Touring being the next one out, we're just going to start there and kind of go to the Air Touring and the Air Pure, telling you which options get taken out and which options get changed because they are a little confusing and there's a lot going on in this picture. Basically, you see we have our 800 horsepower, drops to 620 horsepower in the Air Touring, and then drops even more to 480 horsepower. Both the Air Touring, the Air Grand Touring, and the Air Touring both have all-wheel drive. The only vehicle that Lucid is coming out with right now that can have rear-wheel drive is going to be the Pure. You also notice that on the Pure, there's no glass moonroof, something that I wish they at least give you the option for to make it kind of look like the others, but I guess being the cheapest model, it makes sense. When it comes to range, on the Air Grand Touring, we have 516 miles, very close to the Dream Edition. And then on the Air Touring, we have 406 miles. And on the Air Pure, 406 miles as well. Now, if you have the rear-wheel drive option, we're assuming that the range is going to be a lot higher because usually when you go from rear-wheel to all-wheel, you lose range based on the weight. Hopefully, they're over-delivering.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of weird. Just comparing the Touring and the Pure, you're going to look and see that the ranges are almost the exact same, but one is offering about 140 more horsepower. I think, honestly, if you get the rear-wheel drive option on the Pure and you're running 19-inch wheels, you're probably going to be looking much closer to 450, maybe high 400s for your mile range.
Yeah, it seems that the trend is with the 19-inch wheels, you're saving about 40 to 50 miles, which is a ton, like we said earlier. So, I mean, if you're going Air Pure for the cheapest model and you're trying to get that incredible range, you could still reach the limits of something almost like the Grand Touring. Obviously, still a little lower, but having a smaller battery pack and getting close to 500-mile range is not small, I'll tell you that. When it comes to the interior, it does get a little confusing. So on the Air Grand Touring, we have 4 different colors that are shown, but one of the colors is just the difference between the Pure Luxe, which is also known as Leatherette or Sensitech, a human-made leather. So you can choose between, on the gray and black one, you can get the different quality. On the Air Touring, you'll just have the 3 color options. It was like that, saddle and black, the gray and black, and the white and black. So it seems that the black front seats are just the standard.
Right.
And then on the Air Pure, unfortunately, you will only have the option for that Pure Luxe Black, so the Mojave, which is the black in the front and the gray in the back. There's no option as of now to get any other color.
So to reiterate what we already talked about before, the glass canopy roof is a standard on the Grand Touring. It is optional on the Air Touring, and it is not available on the Air Pure. The wheel selections, you have your 21s are standard on the Grand Touring with optional 20s and 19s. You have standard 20s on the Touring with an optional 19, and then a standard 19 on the Pure with an optional 20. So it kind of goes down 3, 2, 1, the 21, 20, 19-inch wheels. So lastly, we have the Surreal sound system as well as Dream Drive Pro, which comes standard on the Grand Touring model. If you look at the Touring and Pure, neither of these are included. They're going to be optional packages that you can tack on. Unfortunately, we don't really know how much they're going to cost right now. If they're anything close to other competitors, it's probably going to be $4,000 maybe for the speaker system, as well as $10,000, maybe even $11,000 for the Dream Drive Pro.
All in all, there's a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to all of these models, and with it being a new company in the EV market, we definitely have a big question mark over the UI, over, hopefully the builder site getting a little better, and obviously pricing. But, we're going to see what happens.
That wraps up our general overview of the Lucid Air. Hopefully you found this video helpful and was able to clarify any type of confusion you might have had for this car. As Lucid decides to slowly release more information, we'll hopefully get a better understanding of what they have to offer.
Yeah, and any lingering questions that you have about Lucid, please leave them down in the comments. We love to have discussions. And also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the future.